Hello, 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 and welcome everyone to the meeting of Online Presenters Toastmasters Club. I'm your Sergeant at Arms, Sunny Bridge, aka Dr. Sunny. Guests, please note, we'd love to have you become a member of our club. You should be a member of, or former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches. However, if you have substantial, relevant presentation experience, we welcome you to apply for membership after you demonstrate your abilities in a 2 to 3 minute speech, and you can deliver it during one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are subject to approval by the members of our club. Has anyone tried this new button? It said that it moves my screen around, so now it's made it too big, but we'll just keep it moving. I must have done something stupid. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it displays your name and role. Hover over your video, right-click, and select Rename to do so. Also, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. We have members and guests from many countries throughout the world. As a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. And please note, we will be recording the meeting. In fact, we already are. And your video and audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. And now, please help me welcome our hubris, possibly club president, Joni Laidlaw. Joni, welcome.
Thank you, Sergeant at Arms. Sunny, hubris. Yeah, sometimes I do believe that you fly by the seat of your pants. And if you get an opportunity, you jump out that plane, like Richard Branson said, and you build a parachute on the way down. Haven't hit the ground yet. Always a first time for everything. So I guess that might mean that I will continue with the humorous quite jovially. Today, we have a very special meeting. Not only do we have a special meeting, but we have a couple of special people here. We have a few guests who are here for the very first time. Now, I do have to call them out because it's their first time here. And I'll ask for your feedback at the end of the meeting, but just want to say nice to have you, Dana, Taylor, and Jill, and look forward to having you. Hopefully, you'll participate in the table topics. I'm the table topics master. It will help with your speaking. It's off the cuff. And in addition to that, I'm also going to ask for your feedback. So please stay till the end of our meeting. Without further ado, we're going to get into it. And I don't know what made him take this role on. Might have been based on the theme. Could be stupidity, could be hubris. Who knows? But today, taking us through our meeting is one of the founding members, founding president of Online Presenters. Please, everyone, help me. It's not welcome, it's question David Carr as to exactly why he chose his theme.
All right, thank you, Joni. It's so reassuring to know that stupidity makes you think of me. But I didn't choose to be Toastmaster of the Day because the meeting theme was stupidity. I chose to be Toastmaster of the Day, and then Jim Barber suggested that the theme of the meeting should be stupidity.
Why
but
did
again,
people start listening to me all of a sudden?
I did embrace the stupidity, and I guess that's the dumbest thing I did. But here I am today. Welcome to Online Presenters Toastmasters. We are a club that celebrates the good part of meeting online. There are plenty of people who have been talking for 3 or 4 years now about Zoom fatigue and recovering from that. But we started before COVID. We started back in 2017 looking to explore the possibilities of meeting online. and doing webinars and doing online education and training and being effective in this mode. It's not that we don't like speaking in person. Most of us also belong to some club where we get a chance to stand up in front of people, which is a different experience and a valuable experience. So if any of you are going to be joining first through online presenters, we would encourage you to seek out those opportunities as well. But here we are today. My job as Toastmaster of the Day is to lead us through the meeting and keep it hopefully pretty well organized. Again, the theme of the meeting is stupidity. The word of the day is hubris, which is excessive and often unjustified self-confidence. So you don't compliment somebody by saying that thinking of them makes you think hubris. That's not the direction that you want to go in necessarily. But I think most of us have people in our lives who we can think of who might be well associated with that term. In just a few minutes, we'll get into introducing some role players who will help keep us organized. I put myself down as the tip of the day person. So this is something we do in this club where we try and have some educational segment at the beginning of the meeting. And mine, frankly, is a little bit self-serving. It's something to do with the website software that we use, but I'm just going to cover it briefly. You might have seen a message coming to you over the weekend saying to vote on something. Well, we have an online voting tool that we use in this club that you should see us trot out a little bit later. I think because we only have one speaker and one evaluator, we'll be voting on the best table topic. So that's the best impromptu speech that somebody gives. So you'll see that rolled out then. But you will also see a couple of other questions on the agenda that aren't things just to do with this meeting. And the idea there is that the next time we need to vote in a member, because we do have a formal process, we're supposed to vote in that we accept somebody as a member into the club. You can guess how many times we say no. Generally, we want people to come into the club. But we're supposed to be able to show a record to Toastmasters International if somebody comes and audits us or whatever, that we actually did vote people in. And this will actually help with that process. So we can capture the votes from the people who are at the meeting. And then if we didn't have enough attendance, we can send it out by email. So let me just show you that very briefly. Here is what that will look like. So what you see on the right is actually the familiar tool that where we share a link in the meeting chat, and you can go in and vote. And normally you don't have to be logged in. So to vote for best speaker of the day, you don't have to be logged in. But for this purpose where you're casting an official vote, you're going to log in to identify yourself. So you can do it that way. Also in the middle, there's a screenshot of our mobile app. You would be able to vote on the same open questions via the mobile app if you have that on your phone. And again, if we don't get enough votes in either of those two ways, we can email out the vote and people can click on the link. And the advantage is that when the votes roll in, the VP membership and the secretary will be able to capture that information. We'll actually be able to save it to a document in the official minutes section of our website. So I would ask you to just try that today when you open up the ballot. When I share it for table topics a little bit later, you'll also see these other votes, and if you just click those off, just so you get the idea for the future, that's what that is all about. And hopefully this is going to save some work, and I'm always looking for ways that we can make things more efficient by automating some things that the stupid computer can do that the stupid people don't have to do. So that's my goal. Now, let's get into our actual meeting for today. We have some folks to help keep us organized. First of all, we have our timer, Allison Blakeman. Allison, can you explain how you'll be performing the timer role today?
Yes, Mr. Toastmaster of the day. So my face is not on cam so that I can provide a background, and I will raise my hand. The purpose of the timer for our guest is in Toastmasters, we have some rules to follow with speaking and guidelines. During the speaker's speeches, I will display the green background when the speaker has met the minimum time. At the halfway point, I will display yellow. At the end of the time, as we approach with 30 seconds remaining, I will display the red flag. If the speaker goes over the allotted 30-second time extension time, I will display over time, which will mean the speaker is disqualified. So this teaches us to keep our speeches within a certain span of time as not to be hubris. And you don't have to be hubris to join online presenters. We will help you get there. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Allison. And let's see, who was it who stepped in to be our counter? That's Sunny. Yeah.
Unmute me. All right, there I am. I found out something under video. That's that new thing called auto frame. You either click it or you don't, and I will unclick it. But that's interesting. What also is interesting that is, as I am a counter, my job or role is to keep a record of all filler words and sounds such as but, so, like, and other distracting words by speakers. So I'll report the results at the end of the meeting. Back to you.
All right. And you said but you get a free pass. That's the virtue of taking on that role. We also have a grammarian for this meeting, which is Carrie Kong. Carrie, can you explain how you'll be performing that role tonight?
Thank you so much, David. So in order to give some introduction about the grammarian, basically for this role, I'm going to help everybody to improve your vocabulary, grammar, critical listening skills. Whenever people are having grammatical mistakes, or maybe they have good use of grammar, good usage of vocabulary, I also point it out so that people can learn from it, and then we will all have fruitful vocabulary for this time. Actually, I miss it. What is our word of the day?
It is hubris. We can paste it in the chat, but it's hubris.
Yeah. So hubris, it's a pretty difficult word for me, for sure. I hope everyone can have some chance to use this word, hubris. That's actually come from the ancient Greek word hubris. It means like excessive pride, arrogance, and insolence. So when we're talking about hubris, definitely we can use it in the verb form, in the noun form, and then we can definitely point it out. You can use some similar substitutes such as like arrogant, overconfident, some similar words like that. It would be really great for people who can use this, and I will count the use of this word to the end of the meeting. Back to you, David.
All right, thank you, Carrie. By the way, your mic level sounds a little bit low, but it's not. We're able to make it out, but a little bit low. If there's anything you can do for that. Let's see. Our next role player for today will be our watcher, Graham Cairns. Graham, what will you be watching today?
One of the things I'll be watching is to make sure that everybody is in fact staying within frame, that they are using this square or rectangle, as the case may be, effectively. One of the things that we do at Online Presenters is develop presentation skills using this environment, because speaking on screen is a very different beast to speaking in front of a group of people that we can actually physically see in the same room. So I'll be watching how you appear in the screen, making sure, for example, that you are staying within the square, that your lighting doesn't become distracting, that you don't have pussycats wandering across in front of you, Alison. No, sorry, it's not my fault. It's not your fault. If the cat appears, the cat appears. We know that happens. So that's my role as watcher.
Right, terrific. Another role that not every club has, but we do, is chat monitor. Chatty Jim Barber will be helping us with that. Why do we have a chat monitor, Jim?
Yes, Mr. Toastmaster, the chat monitor is an extremely important and complicated position, I say with a little bit of hubris. Not to imply stupidity, but as the chat monitor this evening, I am going to be, get ready for this, monitoring the chat. I'm going to be watching the chat as things go by. I'm going to alert the Toastmaster of the day if there's anything that he needs to know about, but actually happened to miss. More importantly, at the end of the meeting, I will be summarizing anything of great importance that went by in the chat for the meeting. I'll give a report. That's it, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right. Most wonderful. And let's see, I believe our final roll counter was actually me. Was the vote counter, which I already explained a little bit. You'll note when it comes up, I will be keeping score during the meeting. Which brings us to the core of the meeting, I would say, is the prepared speeches where folks have actually had a chance to prepare for days or weeks or months for what they're going to say. Impromptu speaking is equally important, but different. We'll get to that a little bit later. But we have a prepared speech today from Grand Cairns. This is a level 5 project demonstrating expertise. Prepare to speak professionally. Title, The Pink Pirates. Graham delivers lectures on board cruise ships to inform, educate, and entertain passengers as they sail the high seas. One of his most popular lectures is about pirates. Arr, but it's not always about the male pirates. Or I guess it usually is always about the male pirates, if I'm reading that right. But recently, he's created a new lecture on the women who hosted the Jolly Roger. So today, Graham would like to practice part of that lecture, which he's calling The Pink Pirates. Graham Cairns, everyone.
Thank you, David. Just before we begin, 18 to 22 minutes, please, Alison. So if you can give me an indication at 18, 20, and 22 minutes, that would be good. This is a longer than normal speech for our guests. Normally, a Toastmaster speech only runs 5 to 7 minutes. This particular presentation would normally last 45 minutes, but you don't have to listen to me for 45 minutes. I'm just going to give you a 22-minute segment of it. And for the purpose of the exercise, you are now on a cruise ship. You are sailing somewhere between Singapore and Bali, which is where I will be delivering this lecture in a few weeks' time. So, hello everyone. For those who haven't met me so far this cruise, my name is Graham Cairns, and I love stories of history. Now, for many people, history is as dull as dishwater. I mean, they remember school, where history was all about dates and places and who was the father of who. But for me, history is the interplay of people, of ideas, of stories. Now, I'm not a historian. I am instead a journalist and a public speaker of some 40 years. And over the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to be telling you stories about famous and not so famous pirates. But didn't I talk about pirates in yesterday's talk, I hear you say? Well, those of you who were here yesterday, I hear them say that I did. But today, we're going to talk about pink pirates, women who flew the Jolly Roger, as it were, and who flew in the face of convention. I'm going to start with a Barbary pirate that I didn't mention yesterday. Her name was Saida al-Hurra. Now, al-Hurra was a female Muslim cleric. She was a merchant. She was a governor of Tetuan, and she was later the wife of the Sultan of Morocco. We don't know her birth name. Her nom de guerre, by the way, literally means noble lady who is free and independent, the woman sovereign who bows to no authority. We don't know her birth name, and we don't even really know when she was born. It was around 1485 in the Emirate of Grenada. But she was forced to flee to Morocco when she was very young to escape what was called the Reconquista. That's when the Christians invaded to take back their lands. In Morocco, she gathered a crew largely made up of exiled Moors, and she launched pirate expeditions against Spain and Portugal to avenge the Reconquista, to protect Morocco from Christian pirates, and, well, let's be honest, to get riches and glory. She co-founded the Barbary Corsairs with her allies, the Barbarossa brothers. You remember, we spoke about those yesterday. And she became wealthy and renowned enough that the Sultan of Morocco asked to make her his queen. But she would only get married in Tetouan, where she was governor. She was not going to give that up. Quite a woman, I have to tell you. So that's Al-Hurra. Jeanne de Clisson is another female pirate that I want to talk about. As I mentioned, a large part of Al-Hurra's motivation was political, and here's another example of that. Jeanne de Clisson was the Lioness of Brittany. Her tale is a riveting blend of heartbreak and vengeance and defiance that stands out in the annals of piracy. So let's set sail in her story, shall we? Jeanne de Clisson was born into privilege around 1300 in the Brittany region of France. She was a member of the nobility, destined for a life of wealth and comfort and political influence. Her early years were pretty typical for women of her station, and she entered into a marriage with Geoffrey de Laval. He was a fellow nobleman, and together they had 2 children. But their union was cut short when Geoffrey died. Jeanne remarried, this time to Olivier de Clisson IV, another noble and a prominent figure in Brittany. Olivier was deeply involved in the fairly turbulent politics of the region, navigating the what you would call complex relations between Brittany, which, as I say, is in France, France itself, and England, which is not Britain, or it was Britain, but not Brittany. Anyway, it gets confusing. Don't let it worry you. Jeanne herself was no passive observer of these events. She was intelligent and politically astute, playing her part in maintaining the status and affairs of her family. But the turning point in Jeanne's life came in 1343 during a period of political chaos known as the Breton War of Succession. This conflict pitted 2 rival factions against one another. There was the Montforts, who were supported by the English, and the Blois, who were allied with the French crown. Olivier de Clisson aligned with the Blois faction. Now, that should have been a good move, but it was in fact a decision which would ultimately seal his fate. Olivier was captured by English forces during a skirmish, but was eventually ransomed and returned to Brittany. So far, so good. But suspicions arose about his loyalty, some accusing him of colluding with the English. Now, that was an accusation which, for whatever reason, gained traction in the French court. King Philip VI of France summoned Olivier, who was, remember, an ally. He summoned Olivier to Paris under the pretext of a political conference, but what followed was a shocking betrayal. Olivier was arrested and tried and executed by beheading at the king's command. This act of political humiliation didn't end there. Olivier's body was then displayed on a pole in Paris as a warning to any who dared cross the French crown. Jeanne, as you can imagine, was devastated. The brutal execution of her husband was not only a personal loss, but a public disgrace that left her determined to seek revenge. Hell hath no woman, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Jeanne's transformation from noblewoman to pirate was nothing short of extraordinary. Stripped of her status and consumed by rage, she vowed to avenge Olivier's death. Her fury was directed squarely at the French monarchy, whom she held responsible for her husband's execution. She sold her lands and her remaining assets and funded her vendetta. With that newfound wealth, she purchased 3 warships. She painted their hulls black, and she outfitted them with crimson sails, symbols of her mourning and of her fury. She gathered a crew loyal to her cause, determined to terrorise French shipping routes in the English Channel. Her attacks were swift, and they were merciless. She spared no one. She executed French noblemen and French sailors alike. Her reputation for ruthlessness earned her the nickname the Lioness of Brittany. Now, Jeanne's piracy disrupted French trade and weakened the monarchy's influence in the region. Her operations were so effective, in fact, that they gained the attention of the English crown. Eventually, Jeanne aligned herself with England, forming a partnership with King Edward III, effectively bringing into play what the King of France had feared in the first place, the law of unintended consequences, I think they call it. Edward provided Jeanne with supplies and with safe harbour, recognising the strategic value of her campaign against the French crown. And this alliance allowed Jeanne to continue her raids with greater resources and with greater support. After years of piracy, Jeanne eventually retired, settling back in Brittany with her surviving children, leaving behind her life of vengeance and of violence. Her later years were far quieter, spent in relative peace. Now, the thing is, much of that which we know about Jeanne de Clisson is probably fiction, because records from the 14th century are not exactly reliable. So if that's the case, it's even more true about 12th century Viking pirate princess Alfhild. Her story is a fascinating blend of history and myth and legend, making her one of the most intriguing figures in Viking lore. Alfhild was said to be the daughter of a Geatish king named Siward. Her story is recounted in the Gesta Danorum. That's a sort of 12th century work by Saxo Grammaticus, which weaves together historical events and mythical tales. According to legend, Alfhild took a dramatic turn when her father devised an unusual test for her suitors. To protect her chastity and to ensure that only the worthiest man could win her hand, King Siward placed a venomous snake and a lizard outside her chamber. The snake I can understand, the lizard not so sure. Anyway, any suitor who wished to marry Alfhild had to defeat these fearsome creatures. There was a Danish prince named Alf who rose to the challenge, slaying the beasts and proving his bravery. But Alfhild, being advised by her mother, decided she wasn't ready to marry, not yet. No, instead, she disguised herself as a man and fled, embarking on a life of adventure. Alfhild's escape led her to the high seas, where she became a shield maiden and eventually a pirate. She gathered a fleet of ships, crewed by young women who, like her, sought freedom and defied societal norms. Together, they raided along the coasts of the Baltic Sea, striking fear into the hearts of their enemies. But her fleet's exploits did not go unnoticed, as you can imagine. Prince Alf, still determined to win her love, pursued her across the seas. And then, after a fierce battle, Alf's forces managed to defeat Alfhild's fleet. During the fight, Alfhild's helmet was knocked off her, revealing her true identity. Recognizing her, Alf embraced her, and Alfhild then decided, I'm going to lay down my warrior's garb and return with Alf to Denmark, where they married and lived as king and queen. The story of Alfhild is a mix of historical possibility and mythical embellishment. There's no concrete evidence to confirm her existence, but her tale reflects the Viking Age's cultural values, including bravery and independence and the role of women in society. So we don't actually have any historical proof of her. We do, on the other hand, have much more historical data on the swashbuckling sisterhood of Anne Bonny and Mary Read. Anne Bonny's story begins in Ireland around 1698, where she was born to a somewhat scandalous family. Her father, William Cormac, was a lawyer, quite a successful one, but he was also successful at seducing, because her mother, Mary Brennan, was his mistress, quite the gossip fodder of the time, as you can imagine. To escape societal judgment, the family moved to Charleston, South Carolina, where, of course, there was no rumours, no. Anyway, Anne grew up amidst the bustling colonial trade. From an early age, she was known for her fiery temper and her rebellious spirit. Legends tell of her beating a servant with a chair, which is a rather dramatic display of her tenacity, or perhaps of the fact that she was just a biatch. But anyway, as she grew older, Anne's adventurous streak and disdain for conventional life became increasingly evident. Instead of settling down into the role of a genteel southern lady, she ran away to Nassau, which was a haven for pirates in the Caribbean. It was there, amidst the rum-soaked camaraderie of rogue seafarers, that Anne crossed paths with John Calico Jack Rackham, a pirate captain known for his flamboyant attire. The two quickly became lovers, and Anne joined his crew, leaving behind her first husband, don't need him anymore, instead embracing the life with gusto. That's Anne Bonny. Mary Read's beginnings were equally unconventional. Born in England around 1685, she faced many hardships early on. Her father passed away before she was born, leaving her mother destitute. To ensure financial support from her late husband's family, because they weren't going to support this widow and daughter, Mary's mother instead disguised her as a boy and claimed she was her deceased son and therefore worthy of the family support. This masquerade set the stage for Mary's extraordinary life. As a young boy, Mary found employment as a footboy and later joined the military, serving as a soldier in the Netherlands. Today, Holland. Now the Netherlands again, I think. Her bravery and skill earned her respect amongst her fellow troops. Things took a more romantic turn, we might say, when she fell in love with a fellow soldier. She revealed her true identity to him, and probably to all of the other soldiers at the same time, I imagine. Anyway, the two got married, temporarily leaving the military to open an inn. Tragically, Mary's husband passed away, leaving her without a livelihood, so she resumed her male disguise and boarded a ship bound for the West Indies. This is where fate intervenes again. The ship was attacked by pirates. But instead of resisting, Mary joined the crew, ultimately finding her way to Calico Jack's ship and to Anne Bonny. When Anne Bonny and Mary Read met aboard Rackham's ship, it was the beginning of, let's call it, a partnership for the ages. The two women quickly bonded over their shared experiences of defying societal expectations, but they were only roommates, you understand. Anyway, both of them dressed as men. That was a fairly practical choice, I've got to tell you, given the male-dominated world of piracy. However, their crewmates eventually discovered their true identities. Not that it mattered, because by this stage Anne and Mary had already proven themselves as capable fighters. They were far from passive participants in Rackham's crew. They were active in battles, wielding cutlasses and pistols. Not, by the way, this is an AI-generated picture. I've got to say the pistols that they used probably weren't the Lugers or Colt 45s that this was. But anyway, their courage and tenacity earned them the respect of their fellow pirates, and their exploits became the stuff of legend. One particularly famous incident occurred when Rackham's ship was attacked by a British naval vessel. Most of the male pirates, including Rackham, cowered below deck. Anne and Mary instead fought valiantly to defend their ship. But despite their efforts, they were ultimately captured. The capture of Rackham's crew led to a sensational trial in Jamaica, when Anne and Mary were charged with piracy, which was, of course, a crime punishable by death. Their defence was unconventional. They pleaded their bellies. They claimed to be pregnant. This argument spared them the noose because English law forbade the execution of pregnant women. Rackham, however, was not so fortunate. He was hanged. Legend has it that Anne's last words to him were, "If you'd fought like a man, you needn't have died like a dog." Ouch. Mary Read's story came to a tragic end. She fell ill while imprisoned and she died, likely from fever, before she could either give birth or face further trial. Her death marked the end of her remarkable story, but Anne Bonny's fate remains shrouded in mystery. Some accounts suggest that she was released from prison and returned to Charleston, where she lived out her days in relative obscurity. Others claim that she resumed her piratical career. But regardless of the truth, Anne's legacy as one of history's most famous female pirates endures. Another famous pink pirate comes from Asia, Qing Shi, also known as Zheng Zhiyao. Qing Shi was born as Shi Yang around 1775 in Guangdong province in China. Her early life was marked by poverty, and she worked as a prostitute on a floating brothel known as a flower boat in the bustling port city of Canton. Her beauty, intelligence, and charm made her something of a favourite amongst her clientele, but her life took a dramatic turn in 1801 when she caught the eye of Zheng Yi, who was a notorious pirate commander. Zheng Yi proposed marriage. Qing Shi agreed, but like Sayyida al-Hara that I spoke about earlier, her agreement was not without conditions. She demanded an equal partnership in his pirate fleet and a share of the spoils. Zheng Yi accepted, and the two became a formidable team, co-leading the Red Flag Fleet, which was already a powerful force in the South China Sea. Under their joint leadership, the Red Flag Fleet grew exponentially, Zheng Yi and Qing Shi forming alliances with other pirate groups, creating a confederation that included hundreds of ships and tens of thousands of pirates. Their fleet was organised into this colour-coded hierarchy, with, of course, the Red Flag Fleet at the top. Tragedy struck in 1807 when Zheng Yi died in a storm. Many expected the fleet to disband or fall into chaos, but Qing Shi had other plans. She quickly consolidated power, securing the loyalty of her late husband's crew and appointing Zheng Yi's adopted son Chang Pao as her second in command. Chang Pao would later become her husband, further solidifying her control over the fleet. Good thing, by the way, that he was an adopted son, because otherwise that might have been just a little, well, icky, I think might be a good way of putting it. Qing Shi's leadership was marked by discipline and strategic brilliance. She implemented a strict code of conduct for her pirates with severe punishments for those who disobeyed. For example, stealing from the common treasury or disobeying orders could result in execution. Female captives, on the other hand, were treated with relative respect. I'll get to that relativity in a moment. Those who were deemed unattractive or pregnant, they were just released. Others could marry pirates, but only if both parties consented. Isn't that respectful? Anyway, her fleet dominated the South China Sea, attacking merchant ships and coastal villages, even military vessels. The Red Flag's fleet operations were so extensive, they disrupted trade and posed a significant threat to the Qing dynasty, as well as to foreign powers like the Portuguese and the British. Qing Shi's success obviously didn't go unnoticed. The Qing government launched multiple campaigns to eliminate her fleet, but their efforts were largely unsuccessful. Even the Portuguese and British navies struggled to defeat her. Her fleet's superior organisation and knowledge of the region gave her, well, a significant advantage. But by 1810, the pressure from combined military forces began to mount. Recognising the changing tides, Qing Shi decided to negotiate a surrender, and in a masterstroke of diplomacy, secured a deal that allowed her and her crew to retire without facing prosecution for piracy. She even managed to retain a portion of her wealth and some of her ships. After retiring from piracy, Qing Shi settled in Guangdong province, opened a gambling house, and lived a relatively quiet life, far removed from her days as the terror of the South China Seas. She passed away peacefully in 1844, leaving behind a legacy as one of the most successful pirates in history. Now, I see I've been talking for about 20 minutes, so my time here is running out. But on board the cruise ship, this lecture would continue for another 20 minutes or so to include Grace O'Malley, a legendary figure in Irish history celebrated as the Pirate Queen of Ireland. Her story, in fact, has become a symbol of Irish resistance and independence. And during the remaining 20 minutes, we'd also talk about Rachel Wall, New England's only known female pirate, a fascinating figure whose life was a mix of daring exploits, tragic choices, and, well, quite frankly, a dramatic end. She was hanged on Boston Commons, becoming the last woman to be executed in Massachusetts. And so ends our look at women pirates throughout history. I hope you enjoyed this talk, and I hope that you'll join me again tomorrow as we look at more stories and myths from history and the world of travel. But before we go, All this talk of pirates has reminded me of a cruise that my wife and I took 10 years ago. We were on the MSC Musica, and it was a repositioning cruise taking us to Venice from the Caribbean. And while we were in the Caribbean, I noticed there was a vast difference in food prices as we went from island to island. For example, in Tortola, an apple pie was only $3.50, but in Martinique it was $6 US. So why am I telling you this? Well, I just thought you may be interested in the pie rates of the Caribbean. Mr. Toastmaster.
Oh, Graham. Oh, Graham. I actually heard about women pirates briefly as part of a cruise ship lecture just the other week. Just back from that, actually a pretty good cruise ship lecturer, not up to Graham's scale. I've got to book myself on a Graham cruise one of these days. We are now moving on to the impromptu speaking section of the meeting. This is where things get excited. So this is table topics, and the table topics tyrant for the evening is Joni Renee Laidlaw. Joni.
Thank you, David. I'm not sure if Graham was setting me up with his presentation, considering I'm about to do table topics. Never fear. I actually am extremely easygoing and sweet, and these questions, you'll knock them out of the park. And you know what? To make sure that we get it right, I'll do a basic explanation since we have some guests. Table topics is where you get to speak for 1 to 2 minutes off the cuff. Now you have a captivated audience. It means that once you start speaking, we can't kick you off. So speak until you see the red card. You will see green at 1 minute, then you will see yellow at 1 minute and 30 seconds. Then you will see red at 2 minutes. Our timer is there. You have 30 seconds to wrap up after that. Now, I'm also going to suggest that we use the word of the day. Kudos if you can find somewhere to throw hubris somewhere in your speech. Like I said, I'm not going to be a tyrant. I'm going to be nice and have somebody demonstrate how it's done. All right, well, maybe Jim is going to think I'm a tyrant in this case because he's not on screen. But my first question is for Jim Barber. Jim, tell us of a time you acted with hubris.
I'm not on screen, so I can't say anything. Where did I go? Anyway, I am here. And when was the last time I operated with hubris? Was that your question? Wow. That would probably be when I was a young man years ago. I have not exhibited hubris. I don't think I have exhibited hubris any time in the last few decades because I swiftly came to realize that I wasn't nearly as smart or as good looking or as charming or as pick your adjective as I perhaps hoped that I was, but various people or various circumstances quickly shot me down. And so I have learned to adopt hubris as my normal mode of behavior. Excuse me, anti-hubris. I do not exhibit overconfidence. I was getting it backwards there. I'm still getting thrown by the fact I've turned into the invisible man. Where did I go? I don't understand this at all. I didn't think that would throw me like that, but I'm used to seeing my image up there. Anyway, am I showing hubris right now? No, I am not, because I really think that I should be able to exhibit a much better response to your table topics question, Joni. But I wasn't able to come up with one, and I'm still looking for my image. Darn it, where did it go? Still not there. Spotlighted, but it's not. You're there. Okay. I don't understand it at all. Anyway, if I had hubris, I would say, oh, well, yes, I understand that. That's the way computers work. That's the way Zoom works. No, I give up. It's technology. It bites. What can I say? I'm not a hubris person. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Good answer, Jim. Chances are your camera glitched out. It was happening before, and sometimes it just goes away. The joy of technology. That's kind of hubris we can discuss for hours, and that we're here to help with at Online Presenters. I'm going to give one more opportunity to see how it's done. Then I'm going to go to our guests. Sunny, stupidity is defined as a behavior that shows a lack of good sense or judgment. May I have your definition of stupidity?
Stupidity. I haven't thought about that lately. However, I will say that as a child, we weren't allowed to say the word stupid. And the only other thing that I can think of at this moment is I'm not sure if it was Forrest Gump that said stupid is as stupid does, but I'm using it at this moment. I often tell people that they're not stupid. They just did something stupid. And I don't like it all the time when people do say, "Oh, I'm so stupid," because sometimes your brain is listening to you and you don't want to have too much self-confidence about being a stupid person. These days, I'm not hubris. I don't have hubris moments. The thing that I usually have is the anti, as Jim called it, hubris moments, when you maybe don't have as much confidence. I've learned how to manage my anti-hubris ways. And now when I do display confidence, I hope that it's a good kind that just says that you're good. You're good. And it's all good now. I've reached the green, and so I can stop speaking so that I don't do something stupid. Back to you.
Thank you for that response, Sunny. And it's always good to catch yourself and stop before you do something stupid. Now, to our guest, Dana, Dr. Off, can stupidity be cured?
Goodness gracious, these are difficult topics. I haven't thought about stupidity or even hubris, seeing as how I just learned what the word meant and how to spell it today. But given that I have already learned in the time that I have been here, I believe that some stupidity can be cured. And I believe that it all is rooted in how we all approach the world, understand the world, and attempt to be part of the learning curve and take advantage of the resources that are at our fingertips. And I do mean literally fingertips, as we are all working on the online presentation skills that we can have here and go online right away to look up how to spell hubris and what it means and all the different aspects of stupidity. So what I missed is how the timer and the timing works. Oh, good, there's the green. So I'm not quite sure if that means I can end at this point or if I have to wait until yellow and red. Oh, goodness gracious, thank you. So with that, I would like to say that I have concluded through using my mouth as my brain that yes, stupidity can be cured.
Thank you so much for that. We usually say speak until you get to the red card. Don't worry, eventually you're going to just keep speaking and speaking and speaking until you fly
Yes.
right past the red. But thank you so much for your response.
Mhm.
Our next question goes to Taylor. Taylor, what is the root cause of stupidity?
Oh my goodness, I didn't know I was expected to speak. I'm sorry. I'm just here to observe and take notes. Do I really have to get into this? It's my first time in one of these meetings.
There is no wrong answer. You literally can speak
Okay.
about anything at all for a minute.
Um, I really have no idea. I'm so sorry. You put me on the spot. Is it okay if I pass?
Sure.
Yep.
I'm
Look
sorry.
look
You're
forward to you trying when you get back, though.
Okay, I'll try
you
again
were
next time.
Taylor, you were already 24 seconds in. You should have just kept going and just talking about like Seinfeld, talk about nothing.
Okay, well, I'm in Chicago and we are getting another 3 inches of snow tonight. So we had 8 inches yesterday as we had a record since 1951. It was the most snow we've gotten since 1951. So a little informative speech there for you real quick. But yeah, I guess that's really all I have to say. Back to you. Thank you.
And you see, Taylor made it to a minute
All
and she
right.
proved what I said. The root cause of stupidity is being cold. There you go. Thank you, Taylor,
Thank you.
for that definition. See, there you go. She answered my question just like that. So, next question is never argue with stupid people. They will drag you down to their level and then beat you with experience. That was a quote from Mark Twain about stupidity. Sherry, agree or disagree?
Thank you so much for that question. Can you repeat the quote one more time?
Never argue with stupid people. They will drag you down to their level and then beat you with experience.
I agree. I agree to never argue with stupid people because I feel that people make stupid decisions or say stupid things because they because of poor decisions, right? But not having enough information, not having enough facts. So why stress yourself out? Why struggle with arguing with people when what they're being stupid over is because of the lack of information that they have. So in that situation, I say listen to those people, maybe try to educate them, maybe try to persuade them to think differently. But I'm a believer in hearing people out, finding out why they feel a certain way about a certain topic. But I do think it's because of them having a lack of information to go on. So yes, I agree with that statement. And thank you so much for the question. Back to you, topic master.
Thank you for that response, Sherry. And the Jamaican in me is going to come out, but don't worry, I will translate. Yeah, that's why I'm going to argue with stupid people. That is why you will never catch me arguing with stupid people. For our next question, Jill, can stupidity be a defense mechanism?
Yes, thank you. So can stupidity be a defense mechanism? Yeah, absolutely. I'm also with Dana on the timing. I can't see the green light, so if someone could give me a thumbs up when I'm over. But yeah, I absolutely think so. I mean, right, stupid quote unquote people are just really speaking from their own experiences. So I think from their perspective, they do think that they're right in their own way. And so they're really just defending their experience, they're defending their position, and therefore they want to project their thoughts and feelings and experiences on the other person. So I do think that as the receiver of that information, while it would be stupid to really argue with them at that moment. But we don't want to be hubris and respond in a way that project our feelings back on them. So therefore, we just receive. Everyone's on their own journey, and therefore, we let them be on their way.
Are you sure you're just trying out this public speaking thing, Jill? Because that was a hard one. And I can tell you, I saw no hubris there. You were amazing at
Yay.
your answer. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for
Thank you for the
participating.
opportunity. Thank you.
All right, so I have one more question. And this one goes to Saeed. This is also a Mark Twain quote. It's better to keep your mouth shut and appear stupid than open it and remove all doubt. Agree or disagree, Saeed? Saeed going once.
Oh, that's
Saeed.
sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I would say it depends on the scenario or the situation that we are. Sometimes, if we speak up against a stupid idea or the person who is stupid, that will be a great lesson learned for us and for them as well. But sometimes, if we keep quiet, that would be like a defense scenario for us. By for us, I mean that the people who are not stupid. So overall, I would say 50-50. Sometimes we can argue with stupid people, and sometimes we can like ignore speaking with stupid people or argue on a stupid topic. Back to you, table topic master.
Thank you for that answer and for being a part of our table topics today, Saeed. And I cannot say that I agree. Arguing with stupid people is like playing chess with a pigeon. You just knock all the things over and take a crap on board. With that, I now return the virtual space back over to our Toastmaster of the day.
Terrific. Can we get a timer's report or timer's confirmation that everybody was within time?
Yes, all of the non-Uberous speakers were within time, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day.
Okay, and the list I have is Jim, Sonny, Dana, Taylor, Jill, Sherry, and Saeed. Is that correct? Did I miss anybody?
Yep, there were 7 speakers.
3, 7. Okay. As threatened, I'm posting a link in the chat. And guests are welcome to vote. Guests had better vote because we don't have that many members here tonight, but we have a lot of guests, which actually is great. But I guess we got to get both of them here. But you don't have to be logged in to vote, except you'll see some phony questions at the end that you're supposed to log in if you want to vote on them. Some of you have already voted on them, so you won't need to. But that's just a test that we're running for tonight. And we'll try it out for real the next time we have somebody new to vote in, which I hope will be soon, now that we have all these great guests here and that they're acting so interested. So that's great. Let us move on to the portion of the program where our speakers, and including some of our table topics folks, will get some immediate feedback on how they did, but particularly our featured speaker has an evaluator this evening, and to lead us through the evaluation section, we have our general evaluator, Dr. Andrew Byrne.
Thank you very much, David. My section is important because it encompasses 3 things. The first is that we have an evaluation to help people grow in their speaking capability by evaluating how they did during their performance tonight. Secondly, we call up what we call our functionaries to give us insight into grammar, who used hubris, on other aspects, the chat monitor, body language, and other aspects. And thirdly, I give my overall evaluation of the meeting. Oh, without delaying any further, I'll call up the evaluator for today's speaking by Graham Cairns, and that is Jim Barber. Jim, please let us have your insights into this speech.
With pleasure, Mr. General Evaluator, my fellow Toastmasters, our most welcome guests here this evening. Wow. Graham, I always enjoy listening to your cruise presentations, and this was no exception. Your gestures, just to summarize very quickly, your gestures are effective, they're appropriate. Your slides, I loved your slides. They were appropriate, they were well used. I liked everything you did there. But of course, the star of your whole presentation is your voice. You are a verbal delight. Your pacing, your pronunciation of words, your vocal variety in general. You provide solid information to us, but it's informative. It's informative, but it's also entertaining. It's enjoyable. It would be easy when you're giving this sort of presentation. I was thinking while you were doing it, it would be so easy to sound pompous, and you never did that. It was great. We were enjoying what you were saying. This was very, very good. I have a suggestion, and this was really hard to come up with because for your presentation here, I have no suggestions. I thought it was great. I have no suggestions at all. Perfect. But you asked us to say that we were on your cruise ship listening to you. And for that, I have to use the old advice of know your audience. If your audience did not have English as their first language, then well, that would be basically it. If English was not their first language, some of the things might be hard to understand. For example, you used many names of places. And if I were Asian, I might probably be able to follow some of those, but you lost me completely on the geographical names and the names of people. Also, of course, I love your language, but other people might have problems following when you talked about mythical embellishment, swashbuckling sisterhood, rum-soaked corsairs of seafaring something, I don't know. Anyway, I was not able to write it down fast enough, but wonderful English. It would make a fantastic article that you could read. But when you're giving it to people, and if English is not their primary language that they are comfortable with, they might find it hard to follow some of those things. You could slow down a little bit, give them a break, a pause between sentences, maybe even a short pause after a geographical name or something, just to give the time to soak in a little bit. But that's the only suggestion I can possibly make, and it wouldn't be appropriate in every case, but considering that you're on a cruise ship, it might be something that could come up, something to think about. That's it, Mr. General Evaluator.
You're muted, Andy.
That's you, Andy.
One of our functionaries tonight is our timer. Time management is a key skill that we develop in Toastmasters. Allison, tell us about the time spent by our evaluator on Graham's speech.
Yes, Mr. General Evaluator. So Chatty Jim Barber came in at 3 minutes and 18 seconds, which was right within time. So everyone did a fantastic job tonight, staying within time.
Thank you very much. Grammarian was Carrie Kong. Please tell us about the hubris exhibited in our meeting.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And then everybody is sort of between hubris and non-hubris. This is the perfect balance of how our grammar should work in this world. And for tonight, we have a great usage of grammar, especially coming from Graham, because he speaks the most in our current presentation. I would say he has used a wide range of vocabulary and very rich vocabulary like tenacity, disdainful, genteel, extraordinary, sensational, reckon, obscurity. So all those are fabulous usages of all the English words that I could ever um, assemble in my mind. But as what Jim has been pointed out, for some of the vocabulary that is not unfamiliar with some of the people who are non-native speaker or people who might not be able to achieve that type of vocabulary, it might be a little bit difficult for them to understand. So maybe some exchange of those simpler English words, it will be difficult, more easier for people to understand. Nice grammar, like you use, oh, she can either or, those are very good usage of the grammar. And your pronunciation of Chinese, not too off. I must appreciate that for sure. And definitely, I would really agree with Jim also. You can type those Chinese words or the names or even the regions or other, maybe it come from Indian or other languages on the screen so people can read it. Because even though your Chinese pronunciation is not too off, it's still a little bit off from the original. I believe you say Qingxie. Probably it's another real name that I maybe you spell to you. I'll be definitely be able to correct you a little bit more. And I really love your AI picture of that Chinese courtyard. Even though for most people, you should understand the Chinese words that they generated on all the AI pictures, they're all wrong. So people can see that your pictures are AI generated because all the Chinese words, they're not accurate. And last but not least, I would like to say hubris. I checked it for a couple of times. It's hubris and not hubris, just like what Jim has pronounced it. It might be a little bit off. So it's hubris, and the adjective of it is hubristic. So I'm a hubristic person, not I'm a hubris person, even though you can also use that in that way. So Joni has been using the most word of the day and asks really tough questions. Jim a couple of times, Dr. Sunny for 3 times, Dr. Ruff for 2 or 3 times, Jill for once. So really good usage of hubris today. So I'm being hubristic today, but hopefully everyone can learn something from Jim and other people and Ram. Okay, back to you, Andrew.
Thank you very much. Sunny, we sometimes use filler words instead of pauses. You listen specifically for that to help us along. Tell us what you heard.
That's right. I was tracking using a tool called Udly, our pesky filler words and sounds. Here's what I found out. First, I want to share Graham because he was the first speaker. And I want to applaud you, Graham. I don't even believe those us, likes, and ahs belong to you. I believe they probably, someone else had their mic open. And if I click the play button, I bet we, ah, so there is truth to it that you do say us. We don't usually hear them. So you did have a few us, a like, and an ah. Good. Let's take a look at a few of our guests. Let's look at Jill, who did a great job. You had 6 ums, 4 us, and 2 you knows. And I'll do 2 more. Let's see, Jim Chatty, Jim Barber, during his I did not catch you during your evaluation, so this was before, 2 us, an okay, and an O. So those are just a few of the there I go. Those are just a few of the filler words that some of us may have. And I just wanted to add, if I can just pull my notes up, that if we do too many of those filler words, here's a few quick tips. Pause with purpose. A silent pause helps you gather your thoughts and you sound more confident, not hubris. And then use so intentionally, especially to draw a conclusion like, so here's the takeaway. So the solution is clear. And one more thing, be mindful of and. Too many ands can make your speech run on. Instead, break ideas into shorter sentences for clarity and impact. Back to you.
Very, very good. Thank you. And as was talked about earlier, we have a vote counter to help us understand how we all felt and were impacted by our table topics run by Joni. David, could you give us the results of the voting, please?
Well, there was a wide variety of voting going on, but in the end, Jill ran away with it. Jill, actually, quite decisively, really, Jill.
Really? Thank you.
Folks,
Thank you.
they
Very
they
surprised.
really, really liked you.
Yay, thank you so much. Appreciate
And
the hubris.
also,
Vote of confidence.
we do have a plurality of the club agreeing that we should change the name of the club to Long-Winded Toastmasters. However, it's not quite a quorum, and it was kind of a phony vote anyway. So anyway,
All right. So thank you, David. And the last part of my responsibility is to give the overview for the meeting. And here it is. We start our meeting off, as we always do, with questions and a social time to get to know everybody, both our guests and the regular people, so we can develop a strong sense of community amongst all those that are here. And we hope that each of you felt welcome. Later on, our president or vice president of education will ask each of our guests to tell us what you thought about our meeting. I thought that we started well and strong. Graham always delivers a great speaking time, and it makes us envious that he's getting paid to speak on his cruise. With that said, I turn it over to our Toastmaster of the day, who will take us forward to our guests.
All right, terrific. Well, I'll wrap up and toss it back to Joni. She can call on the guests, but I will mention that I got an invitation from another club Allison is active in, Podmasters Toastmasters, which focuses on podcasting skills, to talk about my Toastmost web tech project. They also have somebody from Free Toast Toast who will be an ambassador for that organization who will be represented. So that'll be an interesting conversation. I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully a few of you can be there. I'm looking for a cheering session if you're able to attend Sunday night. Joni.
Thank you, David. I don't think this topic turned out to be stupidity. It might have been proposed in hubris, but you know what? Some of the best things are done just out of sheer overconfidence. And today, I do believe this topic was one of them. So thank you, David, for taking us through. Thank you, Graham, for that amazing speech. It's not usual